What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Alex. Shout out to the Elite Fleet. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can become a member of the Elite Fleet. And we gotta talk about this Fox Sports 1 and the Fox Sports Freak-Offs featuring Skip, aka Trick Bayless, and Joy Taylor. And we gotta talk about it because it proves something that I've mentioned to you guys a lot before, which is women play chess, not checkers, and that's how a lot of you guys get yourself caught up. Now, there's a lot of things in this lawsuit that aren't being mentioned, right? I've been real busy, but sometimes I like being busy because I get a chance to see what everyone else is saying and fill the gaps. And what I realized is Kanye West was right. When he said they throwing numbers at me, you know that niggas can't read, or niggas don't read, I should say, because 95% of the videos I've seen, whether they be a TikTok, a short, a long form video, it doesn't really make a difference. I can tell they didn't read the case. You see stupid things. Like there was some dude arguing with me, right? And he goes, well, why are we talking about Joy Taylor? What does it matter? Why do we care who she slept with? We shouldn't be worried about who she slept with. It don't matter, man. Why you worried about who she's sleeping with? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know what dude's infatuation with defending Joy Taylor really is. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, listen, I don't have a problem if she used her pussy to get to the top, but my issue is she's getting heat for y'all trying to defend her or lower the amount of heat she's getting for it. And I don't know why, because whenever a man gets heat, you never see women trying to defend them or lower the heat they're getting. Look at Jay-Z, prime example. Diddy got caught up. Everyone ran to attack Jay-Z. Some girl added him to a lawsuit that was originally just about Diddy, but she added Jay-Z to it. Turns out she don't even remember what the hell happened. Jay-Z was at a concert when he was being accused of doing something to this girl. The case is bullshit. It's going to get thrown out. He's countersuing. Everybody made a video when she made her accusations. No one made a video apologizing. The apology was not as loud as the disrespect. The woman told a flat out lie on Jay-Z, and none of you Negroes said a word. Now, I expect women to try to defend Joy Taylor. Ironically, women haven't defended Joy Taylor. They're pissed at her, and I understand why they're pissed at her, because she went on this whole feminist rant about how hard it is to be a woman and succeed in the sports industry and blah, 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 blah. And the whole time you out here freaking off and sucking D and popping pussy to get into the position you got in the first place, which only hurts them. So they're not even defending her. You got simps, wannabe tricks, dudes she would never talk to, no power, no authority, and no sex appeal. They're the ones defending her the hardest. And I'm like, y'all didn't even do this for Jay-Z. And that's not to say Joy Taylor is guilty. She might be innocent. But my thing is, she hasn't been proven innocent yet. We don't know what's going on. We just have a bunch of allegations. Jay-Z's been proven innocent. So if you haven't spoken up to defend Jay-Z, you shouldn't be going back and forth with me about Joy Taylor. But really quick, I just want to say, for the people wondering what Joy Taylor has to do with this, I'm not going to go over the whole lawsuit. It's very in-depth. I will say a lot of the things in the lawsuit kind of line up and explain a lot of things that happened that didn't make sense, like such as why Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless had conflict and ended up splitting up, why Joy Taylor switched shows. A lot of things in the lawsuit makes things we see make more sense. That's not to say that it's all true. You know, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. We haven't heard Skip's side or Joy's side. But I don't think that all of this is false. I also want to point out to you guys, because again, you know that Negroes don't read, this is a class action suit, which means she's not the only one filing this. She's not the only one with complaints. There are several other employees, several other women who have given statements, although anonymously, right, to the public, but internally they've given statements, they've given text messages, they've given voice recordings backing up what she said about Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon is the executive producer at the center of all of this, right? He's the white man who's basically been smashing everyone in Fox Sports. He was the first one who was smashing on Joy Taylor. He's the one who tried to smash on Miss Faraji, who's the one who put this lawsuit into place. He's the one who was feeling on the other girls who are anonymously part of this lawsuit. All right, he's the one who's been deciding what women here are going to put where to fraternize with other guys. We're going to get into that too. But he's the one. He's the executive producer. He's the man who kind of started all this. He's at the center of all this. Now, it's interesting to me that Mr. Dixon is the executive producer. He makes the most money in this whole situation. He's in control of everything, but they want to put Joy Taylor and Skip Bayless as the face of this and not Mr. Dixon. Again, I hate to go back to the Jay-Z thing, but I want you guys to understand how they protect their own. This man, I don't see how he comes out of this clean. Way too many allegations. I don't see how he comes out of this clean, right? But look at how they're treating him. The media is just bringing up Skip and they're just bringing up Joy. Even most of the videos are just bringing up Skip and Joy. And I get it because they have more popularity, more people know who they are. But no one's really talking about Mr. Dixon, who's really the big bad wolf in this entire situation. No one's talking about him. Now, again, Jay-Z was found innocent and no one said a word. No one defended Jay. When he was found innocent, there was not a plethora of articles nor videos saying, hey, Jay-Z didn't do anything. But Mr. Dixon looks guilty as charged, and there's a plethora of people not even talking about it. They just want to talk about Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor. I'm just saying. But anyways, with that being said, going back to the guy who started the initial argument with me in the first place, he said, why do we care about who Joy Taylor is sleeping with? Well, here's the problem. Again, Joy Taylor initially started off sleeping with Mr. Dixon. First of all, Joy Taylor came from Miami to L.A. to do what she did. Joy knew what she was doing. Let's just call a spade a spade. Joy is a proud hoe. If you pay attention to things that she says that are like not on TV, or she has like her little podcast and where she's talking with her girls, and a lot of you who don't have homegirls don't really understand how meticulous women are, right? And how they play chess, like I said at the beginning of the video. But if you listen to her podcast, you pay attention to what she says, she's made pretty clear on several occasions that she doesn't really have a problem using her body to get what she wants. And she does not really have a problem throwing out her morals for money and opportunity. Most women don't, not all, but most. So she moves from Miami. She goes over to L.A., doesn't have any friends in L.A. Mind you, she's married. Keep this in mind. The whole entire time this lawsuit is happening, she's married for at least half of it. So she's a cheater. But anyways, she goes over to L.A. She meets Mrs. Faraji. She doesn't have many friends. She gets close with Miss Faraji. She pulls Miss Faraji into the whole FS1 thing. She basically brings her up with her. She gets put onto Undisputed and then eventually gets moved on to, what's the other show? I want to say it's Get Up. She was with Colin Cowherd for a little bit too. But essentially, she started off on Undisputed basically because of a relationship she had with Mr. Dixon, who she introduced to Miss Faraji and got Miss Faraji to be her hairstylist. And Faraji from there would kind of move around FS1, mainly on Undisputed. This is how she met Skip, by the way. But anyways, she told Miss Faraji that she was sleeping with Mr. Dixon while she was married, by the way. So Miss Faraji knew this. Supposedly told her it's not a good idea. Listen, I don't really necessarily think she told her that. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. Who knows? But supposedly she told her that this was not a good idea, because it could get messy. But Joy said, I got this under control. I know what I'm doing. Joy is true to the game, by the way. Like, this is a woman, anytime you see her on the TV shows or in any of these meetings or anything like that, them titties is always out. She knows what her best asset is. Them titties is always out. Now, many people find Joy to be pretty, too. Here's my thing. I can see why people will find her pretty. My thing is, I'm a huge football fan. So her brother, Jason Taylor, who is a defensive end for the Miami Dolphins, I grew up watching him. And he was one of the reasons that I played defensive end before I got moved to safety. When I played football, I started off playing defensive end. Then I got moved to safety. It was because of him. He's one of my favorite football players. So the problem is, because he was one of my favorite football players and I've seen him so much, right? Every time I look at Joy Taylor, I basically just see Jason Taylor. So it's hard for me to find her attractive like that, right? She has, nice knockers, great breasts, or whatever the case may be. Again, I see the appeal. She doesn't have much ass. She's kind of built weird from the breast down a little bit, but, she's light-skinned. You know how that goes. She's got long hair because she's mulatto. You know how that goes. And she's got big knockers. So I could see it. It's just me. Every time I look at her in the face, I see Jason Taylor. That's just me. Right? But anyways, moving forward. So when people say, oh, why are you worried about who she's sleeping with? Why are you worried about who she's sleeping with? First of all, she's sleeping with the executive producer. The executive producer is giving her a role on Skip's show as a result of her sleeping with him. That is coercion. Look it up, coercion. Coercion. And essentially what that means is he's using his position of power to basically make physical and emotional threats to other people, right? Other women. It's also fraternization. Now, what he did with Joy would fall under fraternization, which is essentially employees being treated unfairly due to relationships with a coworker, right? In Joy's case, she's getting unfair benefits, which could also be labeled as quid pro quo, right? In Mrs. Faraji's case, she got fired and harassed as a result of not wanting to sleep with Mr. Dixon. So when you guys say, well, why do we care who Joy's sleeping with? Simple, because she's sleeping with the boss. The boss is putting her in positions that she's not really deserving to be in. And as a result, women who probably have better accolades and probably could perform better did not get those positions. She was aware of this. She intended to do this. Not only that, but she also brought Miss Faraji to parties, introducing her to Mr. Dixon. Now, I think she did this because of Acho. There's another guy who works with her now. Didn't work with her before, but works with her now, named Acho, who she's also been sleeping with. Now, again, to an extent, I can understand why people will be like, why do we care about that? But if you actually read the lawsuit, you would know why people care about that. The reason people care about that is because essentially when she started dealing with Acho, she brought Miss Faraji to a party and it appeared like she was basically trying to pass him off to Mrs. Faraji so that she could just go and deal with Acho. Because she was sleeping with Acho and she was sleeping with Mr. Dixon at the same time. All while she was married, by the way. So whenever you hear men are dogs, just keep this story in the back of your head. I digress. Anyways, when she brought Miss Faraji to that party, she introduced Mr. Dixon to him again. Mr. Dixon, offered her drinks, told her to loosen up, put his hand on her waist, put his hand on her buttocks. When she went to Joy and told Joy, Joy was essentially just like, look, if you're not going to do it, basically just be quiet. This is a very powerful man, can get you fired. Just let it rock. Apparently, several other women at the party kind of had the same idea. Hey, listen, this is just what he does. Let it rock. So it's like a big freak off at FS1. Everyone's sleeping with everyone. Joy sleeping with Dixon. Dixon, sleeping with the other girls. She's sleeping with Acho. He's probably sleeping with a few other girls. It's just a freak off. Mind you, Diddy's in jail right now. There was a whole RICO, all types of shit. Mr. Dixon is not in jail. I don't even think he's been suspended at this point. Joy is still working. Skip no longer is on the show, which we're about to get into Skip in like the next 3 seconds. So just stay tuned for the Skip part. So if you're reading it and you line it up, it looks as if she basically brought Miss Faraji to that party to try to pass her off to Mr. Dixon so she can go with Acho. But it didn't work. Now, at that party, once again, Miss Faraji told her, look, I really didn't think you should be sleeping with Mr. Dixon in the first place. This is kind of a dangerous game, but now you're sleeping with both of them. I wouldn't recommend it because by sleeping with both of them, you're running the risk that you might piss off Mr. Dixon. He's very powerful. He could fire you. He can get you blacklisted. He could do all this different stuff to you. Now, here's the part where I said earlier, women play chess, not checkers. Even though Joy has been playing chess this entire time, even with introducing Miss Faraji to the game, was still a chess move. It backfired on her, but it was still a chess move. Because Joy's response, and I quote, was, I'm not worried about that. This is what it says she said in the lawsuit. I'm not worried about that. If he tries to retaliate against me, I will just say that he assaulted me. So essentially, she's like, if this goes backwards or starts to go bad, or he starts to get mad at me for being with Acho, I'm just going to say basically that he Me Too'd me. Even though I was completely compliant with all this the whole time because I was getting benefits from it. I'm just going to say he's Me Too'd me. This is what I mean when women play chess, not checkers. This is what I mean when I say that. This is also why I advise most of the time not to sleep with your coworkers, because this is the type of situation that you get yourself into. Because all she would have to do is just say that everyone's going to believe her. If this whole story didn't break and she just all of a sudden was like, oh my God, Mr. Dixon, he took advantage of me. He was doing this, he was doing that. Everyone would believe her. Everyone would feel bad for her. She's a pretty light-skinned chick. Everyone would defend her. It's going to be harder for her to do that now that this lawsuit is out. But she would have got away with it clean before. Very easily, very clean. She would have got away with that. Okay? But that was her plan. This is why I said they play chess, not checkers. So if you're Mr. Dixon, you think you're doing something, you flexing your muscles. Oh, I'm going to put you on here to be a host of this. I'm going to get me some cheeks. Mr. Dixon's married too, by the way, of course. Mind you, when his wife found all this up, he essentially made up a position for her in the company, which paid her an exorbitant salary for basically her to not say anything and ignore that all of this was going on. And also around this time, by the time we got to this party, Joy was getting divorced. Because I guess her husband found out what was going on. She was getting divorced. Now, again, allegedly. But that's supposedly what was happening at this point. So, you guys got to understand. Joy's getting a divorce. He's putting his wife on the payroll to cover all this up. All this crazy stuff is going on, right? Like I said, FS1 freak off. So now, Miss Faraji, not wanting to deal with Mr. Dixon, she starts to get hit on by Skip. Skip essentially keeps her around. At this point, Joy's switching shows. She's kind of removed a little bit now. This is where Trick Bayless comes into play. Trick Bayless is the one who basically keeps her on undisputed because he has an interest in her. Trick Bayless allegedly offers $1.5 million to sleep with her. Now, when I initially heard this, before I read the lawsuit, I thought the same thing a lot of you were probably thinking, which is, ain't no way in hell Trick Bayless offered $1.5 million to sleep with this chick. She's not even fire like that. It's just no way that this happened. Right? But as you start to fall more into the lawsuit and read it more, it makes more sense. It starts to make more sense. Now, Trick Bayless is married too. So again, go figure. Everyone here is married and they're still having all these freak-offs. But I digress. So, Skip gradually over the couple of times, starts to get a little handsy, keeps putting it in. He basically keeps trying to put his bid in. She's doing his hair, she's cutting his hair, or whatever the case may be. He's putting his bid in, she's denying him or whatever. But he's keeping her on the show, she's keeping her paid. She's a single mom or whatever, so she's keeping her job. So whatever, it's working out for her. Then one day, Skip starts acting weird. She's like, what the hell is Skip acting weird for? He basically acts like he doesn't want her to do his hair anymore. Might even fire her, might even get her let go. So she's trying to figure out what the problem is. And we come to find out that the problem is Skip has been told, allegedly by Mr. Dixon, that the reason Miss Faraji isn't sleeping with him, or trying to at least, is because she's with Shannon. Shannon Sharp, by the way, horse mouth, good old Skip Shannon. So he confronts her about that. Basically says, you're frickin' Shannon. She goes, I'm not frickin' Shannon. He says, you're sleeping with my rival. And that's a problem. I can't be around you and I can't deal with you. Now, around this time is the time where we start to see Skip disrespecting Shannon more and more up until they got into their big heated argument about the whole Tom Brady and you're not as good as Tom Brady and put your glasses back on. Where Shannon was getting tight, he told him to put his glasses back on. All of this is going around supposedly along this time, which would now kind of bring credence to why they started all of a sudden having a beef when they had been previously super tight and super cool. Allegedly, the beef had a lot to do with this chick. The rivalry, instead of the friendship, had a lot to do with this chick. Because supposedly, Shannon, if she was sleeping with Shannon, she said she wasn't, who knows. But Shannon ain't paying her $1.5 million. And this is what I tell you dudes about tricking. Like, a lot of y'all watch a lot of these, like, Red Pill, Mansfield channels, and they're always like, oh, just pay. But I told you guys before, just like being a provider alone won't get you respect, being a trick damn sure won't get you respect. I told you guys before, and I'll say again, The trick is lower on the totem pole than the hoe. With all this information coming out, and I just want you guys to think about this. Who looks worse? Yeah, Joy Taylor looks like a bop, right? And she's getting roasted online. But Skip looks even worse. He looks even worse. 1.5 million for Miss Farazi for a piece of ass. He looks even worse. That's a terrible investment. It's a bad deal. Makes you look desperate, makes you look pathetic. She doesn't respect him clearly. No one else does. Then you got Shannon sitting over there. Shannon ain't offering no money. Shannon just got pure charisma. He works out. So if she was sleeping with him, I just want you guys to see. This is why I tell you, use your masculinity. Don't lead with your wallet. Your money should be the cherry on top. Skip led with his wallet. He's getting played to the left, and now he's getting sued. So he's about to have to probably pay, even if he doesn't have to pay directly, right? Because the company will probably be the ones that have to pay directly. But he's paying indirectly through his reputation. He's paying indirectly through, if he kept this away from his wife, she now knows. He's paying indirectly in a whole bunch of ways. Shannon has paid nothing. Shannon is actually gaining here because it looks like Shannon's just the dog, the alpha in the room, who the chicks just want to let clap just because. Just like Acho. Acho didn't do anything for Joy. Acho's just there. So what you're seeing here is two older white men tricking off money. Now, in the case of Shannon and Skip, they have about the same net worth. Shannon might have a little bit more, but in the case of Acho and Mr. Dixon is way more influential and powerful and rich. But Acho's still getting the same woman without having to do any of the other stuff. He also doesn't have to worry about the allegation. Why? Because Acho and Shannon are running on masculinity. Skip and Mr. Dixon are running on tricking and power and being a six-figure earner and all that other crap. I mean, in their case, they're millionaires, but you guys get my point. It's always better to lead with masculinity. Anyways, so she tells Skip she's not messing with him. You know, Skip, I guess, semi-believes it, semi-doesn't. But he allows her to keep doing his hair. Him and Shannon have their fallout. Shannon leaves the show. Shannon continues to be successful. He's more successful now without the show than he was on it. Skip is no longer on the show. Allegedly, partially because they seen this coming. Even though Mr. Dixon and Joy Taylor are still there. Maybe Skip left himself to get out of this. Who knows? I'm just saying some things are definitely lining up. From there, she starts getting more pressure in the office, you know, because Skip keeps trying to sleep with her. He says, what amount of money would it take for you to sleep with me? Now, if the thing about Shannon Sharpe is true, I can now believe that he said this because at this point, it's just a pure ego thing. That's what you guys don't get. At this point, and she even said it herself, it's not really even about Skip really wanting to sleep with her that bad. He just doesn't want Shannon to have something that he can't have. His ego can't handle it. And I've told you guys before, especially on my sports channel, a lot of these sportscasters, you know, the Stephen A's and the Skip Baylesses and stuff of the world, they want to be just as big, if not bigger than the athletes. They want to make just as much, if not more money than the athletes. So they consider the athletes their rivals, whether they admit it or not. So at this point, it has nothing to do really even with her. This is just pure his ego. He needs to take her to bed, otherwise it makes him feel like Shannon is better than him, which he is, by the way. Which he is. People try to downplay getting women, but I say it all the time. You show me a dude who has success with a lot of women and women like him, and you show me a dude who doesn't or he has to pay, and 9 out of 10 times the dude who's having the more successful women is the more alpha man. He's the more masculine man. He's the more elite man 9 out of 10 times. Especially if he doesn't have to pay. It's just the reality of the situation. Women know who the elite men, who the alpha males are. Men try to dictate that. Men have never dictated that. Men can never dictate that. The women have always dictated that. Shannon is ahead of Skip. Period. You know? That's just the reality of what the situation is. But either way, I digress. So she starts to talk, you know, in the company. They start trying to let her go, especially because Skip's about to leave. So they're like, well, you're not sleeping with Mr. Dixon. Skip's not here anymore. You could basically get gone. So they start putting pressure on her, and all of a sudden no one needs her to do her hair. They're saying she doesn't know how to do black girls' hair, even though she's been doing black girls' hair, all this stuff. She goes to HR, talks to HR about everything that's happened, from the beginning of this video up until this point. Ask them if she needs to get a lawyer. They tell her no, she doesn't need to get a lawyer. They'll take care of it. Then they fire her. After they fire her, she meets up with a couple of other girls, get some text messages, get some statements, and here we are today. Now, again, this is all alleged. We don't know what happened, but a lot of it does seem to line up with stuff that was just happening. Either way, I tell you guys all this to say this. It proves everything I say all the time. One, tricking never plays. The trick is looked at as lower than the hoe. Are people picking on Joy? Yes. But at the end of the day, Joy's just doing what women do. All women, no. A lot of women, yes. She's using her body to get what she wants. This has been going on for centuries. Selling V-Box is the oldest profession in the world. You know, people are going to get their jokes off, especially since she was trying to go act like she was, getting her credentials and getting her positions off of her own merit. But it doesn't really hurt Joy. Joy will be fine. This is an L for Skip. Skip doesn't have his show anymore. He's probably in the doghouse with his wife right now. He looks like a major simp and trick. $1.5 million. He's sitting out here in Ferraris and stuff, trying to wear Jordans and look young and hip, trying to compete, and it's just not working. He looks terrible right now. He looks a lot worse than Joy. Joy just looks like a chick just doing what chicks do. Skip looks like an old, out-of-touch, simp, trick, loser. Now, don't get it twisted. The vast majority of women would have took that $1.5 million and go ahead and let Skip clap from the back and just pretended it was someone else. But it wouldn't have changed his perception to them. And it wouldn't have changed lack of respect. I want you guys to understand, when you start tricking, just imagine offering a regular woman, for example, $5,000 to sleep with you and having to deal with her tell you no. You tell me what's worse. You just go and trying to talk to somebody and they tell you no, they're not interested. You offering money and they still tell you no. Which one's going to hurt your confidence more? Which one's going to make you feel like less of a man? Exactly. I digress. This is why I tell you guys not to do this stuff. Then you have people online like, oh, yeah, pay is safer if you pay. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because just like Joy Taylor said, I'm just going to say you paid me, you convinced me to do something that I didn't want to do. Use coercion. You use quid pro quo. You use fraternization. This is what they're going to say. So now, this is a lawsuit. I think Fox is in big trouble, quite frankly. They'll probably have to pay out $100-something million. Now, I want to end with this. The best gems come for those who stay till the end. Joy's going to make some money out of this, too. She might get fired, right? Mr. Dixon's probably going to get fired. She'll probably get fired. But once she gets fired, she's going to countersue. If y'all remember Megan Trainor, the cop who was getting trains ran on her and all that stuff at the police office, she got fired for fraternization, coercion, and all this other stuff, right? Sleeping with her coworkers. She didn't countersue because of the embarrassment from everyone knowing her business and everyone knowing who she slept with and her mental health and she was taken advantage of and blah, 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 blah. Ultimately, she sued the police force. And let me just see how much money she got really quick, because I just happened to be next to my laptop. So I just want to see really quick how much money she got. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. That wasn't Megan Trainor. She's the... I'm tripping. She's the actress. I meant Megan Hall. But anyways, after she got fired, Megan Hall basically countersued. She put a lawsuit out, like I said, for embarrassment and all her business being in the streets and coercion and just all this other stuff. She countersued. And she got a $500,000 settlement. Even though the city had no admission of guilt. She got a $500,000 settlement. I want to say that one more time. She got a $500,000 settlement. So essentially, she went into the police force, being a thought, sleeping with everybody. She was married too, by the way, cheating on her husband, doing all this extra stuff. And then she sued because of embarrassment. She sued because she lost her job. She sued because of coercion. She sued because she felt like she was being pressured, subjugation, all that stuff, and made $500,000. Imagine tricking off, getting special treatment because you pop it off and riding ponies at your job. And then when you get fired for it, suing the city and making $500,000. But that's what she did. That is exactly what Joy Taylor is going to do. So all you people who seem to think Joy's going to take an L here, she's not taking an L here. She's not going to take an L. If all this turns out to be true and she gets fired, she's going to do the same thing Megan Hall did. That's what's going to happen. She's going to do the exact same thing Megan Hall did. She's going to countersue. She's going to say she was groomed and manipulated and all that stuff. And she's going to make money. Which is why I said women play chess, not checkers. So in this case, Miss Faraji is going to get paid. Joy Taylor is going to get paid. And the only ones who are going to lose is the men. Skip Bayless, Trick Bayless, he's going to catch an L. Mr. Dixon, he's going to be fired. He's going to catch an L. And the only two men who aren't going to catch an L are the two men who didn't lead with their wallets, the two men who just used their masculinity, the two men who just were elite. And they didn't try to buy it, which would be Acho and Shannon Sharp. Which proves everything I've ever said to you guys every time I've made these videos. The only two men who won were the most masculine men in the room. I digress. Either way, y'all, that's my thoughts on that. I am Alex, and I am out. Peace.